There's been a growing recognition for a long time that a lot of the most difficult problems in our society simply can't be dealt with by government alone or by business, to be sure, alone. The big problems, whether it's poverty or climate change, you name it, they're all eluding us and generally getting worse.
In the 21st century, global problems demand new leaders, institutions, and ideas. But unless the world's leaders can learn to transcend the boundaries that divide businesses, governments, and NGOs, even strong leadership will not be enough.
What's missing today in the world is a collective leadership capacity. We have great leadership capacities within institutions, but the big gap in the world is that all the problems are among the institutions, how they interact with the communities around them. And there's really no effort and no infrastructure to develop that kind of seeing and awareness and leadership. So that's where we try to do some first baby steps.
The Emerging Leaders Innovate Across Sectors program, or ELIAS, is a 12-month fellowship that brings together up-and-coming leaders from all sectors. Over the year, fellows share learning and problem-solving experiences that broaden their perspectives, deepen their commitment, and challenge their institutional assumptions.
The NGOs and industry and government don't play nice together. We don't understand each other very well, and we certainly don't collaborate on complex issues very well. Any development course that wanted to approach that as something valuable to gain experience in seemed like it would be relevant and useful.
What the ELIAS program does is actually bring together the state-of-the-art that is emerging today. It brings together the development of leadership competencies with the need to change action on the ground. So it's in the domain of relevant action. It brings together partnership not just as putting people together, but partners generating a higher principle in the world of work.
And I'm just saying that says to me that there's a need to ratchet up those other pieces. It's not a force of nature that things have to be the way they are. It's that they've been decapacitated.
What really inspired me was, first, the idea that you could bring together a network of people who really could make something happen in the world. And, you know, I come from a social change background. I'm a civil rights lawyer by training. And, you know, in that role, you spend a lot of time protesting, not creating, not building. Here was a chance to bring together a group of people, some of whom understood the protest role, some of whom understood the execution role, some of whom got the rules and regulations. So that's the tri-sector. NGO sector, the government sector, the business sector, and help them build relationships that would allow them to really do something in the world.
ELIAS gives fellows the tools to examine issues from multiple points of view and the skills to dismantle obstacles to practical collaboration.
One of the NGO people said it beautifully early on, and they were doing a project together with another one of these corporations. And she said, you know, we started to notice our patterns. Whenever we had an argument, we, the NGOs, would resort to the moral high ground. And we would start to speak, you know, as if, you know, like we were the one true bearers of all that's right and good in the world. We're really trying to help the poor people. You guys are just trying to make a buck. That was the attitude we would retreat into. And the business person said, yeah, you know, whenever we got into an argument, there was a breakdown, we would retreat to the fact that you guys don't actually know how to get anything done on the ground. You got great ideals, and everybody believes in your ideals. I actually give money to your organization, but you're worthless in terms of getting things really done. So you retreat into your stereotypes again. And the lady told the story, she said, because we could each say that to each other and kind of laugh at each other and say, okay, great, now that's that, now let's go back to work.
What I found interesting in that same conversation was that
the ELIAS experience combines reflection, dialogue, skills building, and field visits. By the end of the year, fellows operate more effectively within their organizations. Some even find that the skills gained in ELIAS, in listening and speaking, observing and collaborating, have transformed their lives.
It's a life-changing course for me in a way that it really helped me developing my listening capacity.
So for me, it's about consciousness. To me, it's about continually asking the most difficult questions and making myself big enough to actually face up to it.
One of us said it's about letting go of being in charge and being on top of everything and enjoying that. Or Torsten said, what I learned most is if you want to become a leader, you first need to become a human being.
I can very much relate to that sentence. If you want to become a leader, you have to become a human being. I see the ELIAS journey more as a reconfirmation of the leadership style that was always in me. We just need to focus on the few things and do the few projects that we feel we need to do, and that will have an impact. And I'm trying to apply this in my organization, which is traditionally very much MBO driven, which is management by objectives, and if you don't meet your objectives or your key performance indicators, you get punished on the bonus scheme. And we need to go beyond this. Obviously, we need to meet our financial targets, but we need to create an atmosphere of energy, an atmosphere of mutual trust, and not an energy of fear and punishment. We also have the big opportunity to see in the real world applications of sustainable designs. I'm trying to be more of a mentor than of a boss, and that's the change that I will continue to pursue.
A key component of the ELIAS approach is the deep dive learning journey. On these field visits, fellows come to understand the ways in which context and culture shape perception, including their own.
What was one of the most important experiences for me with the ELIAS program was a trip to China. My group was visiting the Three Gorges Dam, which is a very controversial project all around the world because a lot of people had to be resettled, over 1 million people actually. We were packed with materials against this dam, against this relocation issue.
Using the ELIAS approach of consultation with a range of key stakeholders, the fellows met with everyone from displaced people to the municipal officials responsible for their resettlement to energy executives. As a result, a door opened to a new way of thinking about global energy issues.
And a lot of our Chinese counterparts told us, well, this dam has something to do with our energy situation in China, and look at your model in Germany or in America. Maybe your way of consumerism is forcing us also to look for different ways of energy. There we came actually trying to pinpoint to the Chinese, well, what have you done? And we got out of this discussions questioning our lifestyle.
On another ELIAS learning journey, a team of fellows traveled to the battered city of New Orleans to see what it could teach them about alternative energy issues around the globe.
As part of our project looking at providing renewable energy, while we were looking in large part at developing communities, we saw this really intriguing opportunity to look in New Orleans, partly because people there are shockingly still off the grid 2 years later, and also because of the devastation and the rebuilding that's taking place. There's an opportunity to do it in a different way and with perhaps more green and renewable energy.
The ELIAS Fellows walked in the shoes of community advocates working to rebuild in a new way.
I think with the Lower Ninth Ward process, it became really interesting because community members were part of that. They knew they wanted renewable power. They knew they wanted solar panels and geothermal lines, all these things that they just found out about through the design process. they just started begging for it, and they flat out said, we gotta have this. There's actually 10 houses that got solar panels in the Lower Ninth Ward from Sharp Solar. And it created more competition. Now more and more people are like, oh, I want solar now too, I want solar too. And that was the first establishment in the city.
Insights from the learning journeys feed into the next phase of the ELIAS program, the development of prototype projects. Through the prototyping process, fellows gain hands-on practice in creating innovative projects that return value for the economy, for the environment, and for society. And they learn how to make those who might be adversaries into partners. One cross-sector ELIAS team developed a prototype project on water treatment in Africa.
Water is such an important unifying factor for Africa. There are wars and civil strife and even some of the other kind of problems in Africa are around water.
Water would be something that is crucial to the world and that all these organizations have a stake in. BASF, the chemical company, WWF, UNICEF and Invent as a GAA in Berlin have partnered up to train 2 groups of young people on sustainable water management.
We want to try and plant this great thinking into young people from 4 sectors, the NGOs, the government, the private sector, as well as the UN system, and try and nurture them and help them really look at what they would like to see in Africa, say 30 years from now, and how can we give them tools and information and knowledge that will actually help them connect to the wider environment of all those who have interest in water and environment, and how they can actually work together in co-creating an environment that is sustainable.
Di bali ng mabahira na kasuotan, basta malinis ang katauhan.
The impact of participating in ELIAS can be immediate. One fellow from the world of business partnered with NGOs to spur a groundbreaking economic development initiative in the Philippines. His work with ELIAS helped him grasp an emerging opportunity. The unlikely inspiration to join the project? Laundry detergent.
Sagot yan ng bagong surf. Mas nakakalinis, mas nakakaputi.
There was this campaign I did, an advertising campaign for a laundry detergent brand in the Philippines, where we spoke about the dignity of labor. The insight being is that there is dignity and purity in the soil and the dirt that accumulates in one's clothes trying to earn an honest living. And we said, let this detergent go ahead and earn an honest living, and let surf take care of the dirt and soil.
He joined with partners from the microfinance industry as well as local entrepreneurs.
We're actually setting up what we call a social business enterprise, which is basically business that's good for society. What I brought to the team was basically this concept of collaboration. You have to raise the level of meaning into this, which is basically the power of communities. I mean, you have to realize how powerful communities can be. And this could be a community of small entrepreneurs. And then you think about, what if you organize a community of corporate collaborators? We, who only not provide financial support, but also share the same space in terms of values. The other thing I put forward was, I would like this endeavor to support women. Empowering women means empowering the family, because if the mother earns a living for the family, all the money goes to the family, okay? And therefore what you have is not only building, social capability, but also you go into nation building. From a microfinance perspective, women have the capacity to repayment is 95%. With men, unfortunately, it's only 40%. being a man, that hurts me, but you have to do the right thing.
The cross-sector partnership envisioned a modest chain of convenience stores owned by individual women entrepreneurs. By June of 2007, 10,000 stores were already part of the Hapinoid chain. By 2008, the number is expected to grow tenfold.
It's all about collaboration, it's all about openness, awareness, exchange of ideas, and the synergy that sort of resulted from this was just fantastic. It was energizing for everybody.
What kind of step we have to follow, and then we agree on that, and then we go.
One of our government people involved is from Indonesia. He's in the trade ministry, and one of his jobs is they have to set price for major agricultural commodities.
Just right after I joined the ELIAS, then suddenly I was assigned by my ministers to make recommendations on so-called how to set the sugar price policy.
And basically the way they've always done it is the experts get together and the ministers, confer, and they get some economists, and they set a price. That's how it's done. And then they have riots, because the farmers say, we can't make money at that price or whatever. He did something, it seems kind of obvious in retrospect, but nobody had ever done it before.
Using tools acquired in the ELIAS program, Hadianto figured out how to involve all key stakeholders, including farmers, in the price-setting process, and achieved a stunningly different result.
For the first time in the history of the country, since they've been doing this now for several decades, there were no riots. It seems to be accepted as a price that's a fair one to the farmers, and it's acceptable to the merchants and the other people who are part of this system.
The ELIAS approach has been so successful that it is now being applied to other commodities. The Indonesia-based ELIAS team plans to launch a national version of the ELIAS cross-sector platform in early 2008, with an initial focus on severe flooding in Jakarta. For corporations, governments, and NGOs, the ELIAS program represents a new way to think about leadership development, with more transformational results.
But the next question is, what did I learn about my organization and about leadership?
I've never been a proponent for leadership development that's about training or let's send people off to some coursework. That has always seemed so empty, it's not applied. I've had a number of people that have gone off to very expensive weeks in a variety of places, but they come back and maybe a little bit has stuck. I think what's different about ELIAS is it's really changed the way in which they think about things. Not academic knowledge, but feeling.
It's a very powerful opportunity we're having here in terms of following up with some actions about what to do next.
The most important thing, in my opinion, for this first cycle is that this group of people have in fact developed some initiatives where there really is energy to move forward. When all is said and done, if that doesn't happen, it's just another leadership development thing. People learned a lot, they grew personally, they got a lot of insight about themselves, but that's actually none of the primary reasons we're doing this. Those are all essential steps towards building this capacity to wrestle with very tough issues. So I'm really hoping that on small scale, coming out of this will be some very interesting projects in different places in the world that people can look at and go, wow, those people are working together on that? That's really exciting.
How do we generate leadership in others, not just in oneself? How do we really hold a space whereby we acknowledge ideas that generate from elsewhere? And I think ELIAS holds that possibility. It can move to that next step of creating ways in which we not only level the playing field for the voice of others, but raise the bar on how things need to be done.
As it enters its second year, ELIAS has become a fast-growing network of leaders and institutions, working on practical ways to collaborate for innovation.
The agent of change in the world today, and in my view, the biggest source of hope we have really as a mankind, is these small networks of people who are connected with each other across institutional and sector boundaries, who become aware of a situation that needs collective action, and then they pull together. They create significant change that you could not have imagined before.